Since you.
Yeah, whatever. Martin, I'm being asked about your education.
Limited.
So therefore, when you have a limited education, how do you get to where you are?
Luck.
The inspiring entrepreneur question.
Luck, perseverance, hard work. I don't know. Self-education. There you go. Yeah. Autodidact. Yeah, that's what they say. Autodidact. I think.
So how do you teach yourself? Reading
I don't
books?
know. That's actually a good question. A lot of people ask that question. There's one guy who wrote this book. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Searching for Bobby Fischer.
Yeah.
It's a great film. And if you like sports or anything like that, it's a good film to watch. And this kid becomes a national chess champion. This guy's a real person. He actually then became the national Tai Chi champion. Which is a different discipline. It's martial art. It's physical, right? Tai Chi is not Taekwondo, but it's still physical. And so this guy wrote a book. His name's Josh Waitzkin. He wrote a book. It's semi-autobiography and it's instruction manual on how he learned these two totally different, disparate things. And I think that very few people actually study the art of learning itself, which is something that truly is its own subject. And I think that anyone can learn anything. And Khan Academy is a good example. That's their motto, actually, is you can learn anything. And I think it's really inspiring. And we're doing this thing nobody knows about yet, but we're pharmaceutical executives. You see a few of my coworkers here. And we do pharma, that's all we do for the last decade. We actually started a new tech company. And we haven't told anyone about it yet, but when it comes out, I think it's going to be pretty big news. And it turns out that we're programming this thing. It's a totally different discipline from what we're used to, but we picked it up. And, we took this, approach of, not being afraid of this weird and strange subject matter, which, by the way, pharmaceuticals, it sounds weird and strange. These words are so big and they're so scary and, oh my God, I can't, tackle it. But the reality is, once you get into it, you're a PhD student, candidate, once you get through the thick, big words, you realize that it's just a normal subject like any other.
And that's one thing that pisses me off on the internet. There's been so many times, you have a lot of videos online. Every now and then you mispronounce a word right. And Reddit or the internet as a whole will say, this is proof he has no idea what he's talking about. All that means is he taught himself and he read the word in a book and wasn't sure how to pronounce it at first. That's all that is evidence of, right? So.
Yeah. When I was in high school,
hashtag T Martin.
When I was in high school, we passed around. I had a history class with this guy named Irving Kagan. His sister, take a wild guess who she is. Elena Kagan. Know who that is? Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan. So this guy taught history at my high school. She went to my high school too, and. We passed around these manuscripts, and we're reading John Locke or some bullshit, and we all have to read one sentence. We go around the room reading a sentence, and it's monotonous. And finally comes to me, and I'm asleep. So someone taps me on the shoulder, and it's you're up next. And I'm reading this thing that's man is the epitome of society, or something like that. And I'm reading, and everyone breaks out laughing, and I'm man is the epitome of society? What? And they're it's epitome, Martin. And that was probably the most embarrassing day of my life. But, no, I think the scientific words scare people from doing something really valuable. Programming as well is this really cool skill everyone should know. But nobody wants to learn it because it's variables, functions, oh my God, and I get frightened of it.
Our society teaches people that not that's cool, right? They're just scared of math before they even try to see it.
Kim Kardashian's not doing that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Programming is so amazing. I did it. I was lucky. I went to PS 197 in Brooklyn, Bernie Sanders' elementary school, and they had Apple IIe computers in a computer lab. We got to learn how to program. It's amazing. I was 6 years old. It never left me. And it's just a way of thinking logically and in a linear, sometimes linear fashion. And everyone should learn programming. It's a beautiful thing. And
high school wasn't good, so I knew that it's early.
We live in a computer society. The fact that people aren't willing to learn how to communicate with a computer in an advanced way is do you learn programming as a genetics guy?
I know very, very basic programming, yeah.
What language?
Python.
Yeah. That's the scientific thing.
Martin, how do you learn finance? My editor really likes your finance tutorials.
It was really hard. I learned it. I think 99% of people learn it the wrong way. Finance is one of these weird things where it's like an artisan field. Believe it or not, you actually have to learn it, and you have to learn it by someone's like personal transmission. And so, and 99% of the people actually trying to personally transmit it to you are teaching you the wrong thing, which is bad. So I actually started a hedge fund in 2006 that failed. And in 2008, my friend and I started a new hedge fund, and that ended up succeeding. But we spent like every day in his garage reading everything we could about like Warren Buffett and going back in time and trying to understand the core of finance. We even started our own martial art. It's kind of ridiculous. It's a joke. It's an inside joke, but it like explained our discipline of like trying to like arrive at the core truths of finance, and we still have this like thing we do that explains our our humility towards like understanding what finance is all about. Because I think people in finance, what they do is they learn one thing and they assume that they know everything. And the sad thing about it is you never stop learning. And finance is like the weirdest field because it's so simple, but then there's this exercise in self-discipline it tears you apart because you want to invest, you want to jump in, you want to do stuff, but you realize that like you're just like you have to restrain yourself from making these rash decisions, and it's totally unlike any other field in that you probably need to study finance for 10 years before you actually practice it, and that's like very counterintuitive to people that are like, let me just get in there and go. And I learned that the hard way when I started my first hedge fund. My second hedge fund was a great success, but it was still very rocky. And there were parts of it that weren't as good as there were ups and downs. And I'm still learning about finance. It's painful, and it teaches you these hard lessons very quickly and swiftly. And I think that most people should never ever want to do finance ever. It's like UFC. Like, why would you want to get involved in a brutal brain bashing? Like, are you?
UFC generally pays very well, but doesn't involve the brain damage.
I guess, but you have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself if you're really ready. And that's the hardest part, because everyone thinks they're really ready, and they're not. And that's the painful truth about it, is that look at the average hedge fund is losing money right now, right? The average hedge fund can't beat the stock market. It can't beat a monkey, Harambe. Well, let's not pick him, because he's special. But can't beat the average monkey or cat picking stocks. Like, why is that? Why? That's not,
Then what about